Welcome back. You know, organ donation is often called the gift of life, but in order to help others, some families have to lose a loved one.
Now, this week, in our continued partnership with Intermountain Medical Center, we have featured the hospital's transplant services. In our final report, Good for Utah's Nadia Crow introduces you to two people forever tied because of a liver donation.
Christmas was his favorite holiday.
You can see Adam Osman's spirit in these photos from his childhood. One day, he came home from school after a driver's ed class.
He just said, "Mom, you know, if anything ever happens to me, I hope you'll let them take whatever they can use to help somebody else." And so I made that promise to him that I'd do it.
Just miles from the Osman family in St. George, the Bird family in Laverkin was dealing with the liver disease taking over Stephen Bird's health.
The bile ducts were being clogged up, so the bile wasn't emptying into the intestine, and caused me a lot of problem, a lot of grief.
Doctors told Stephen he had one option, a liver transplant.
About 1 in 5, 1 in 6 to 1 in 5 people who are waiting for liver, they don't survive the wait. They die while they're waiting.
Back in St. George, Lisa and her family saw a change in Adam, and the worst happened when he was just 16.
He had a drug problem, and so he overdosed. And by the time, you know, we got him life-flighted from where we lived in St. George up to Salt Lake, and I finally got in there, that hospital room with him, and they had just pronounced my son brain dead.
Just moments after losing her son, Lisa kept her promise.
Guy, you know, said he's a donor, that's what he wants.
And that decision saved up to 8 lives.
You can get 1 heart, there's 2 lungs. Each of those are people who will be walking the earth who would otherwise, you know, not have had more time. So
a moment of devastation for Lisa gave Stephen hope.
Be at the hospital by 12:30. My whole family was there. They'd all been notified.
From Adam's body, Intermountain Medical Center surgeons took out his liver.
it's a super hard procedure, requires a big, technically excellent team. There's not very many of them in the country.
And gave it to Gift of Life.
My mind went to the family and the loss of their child. You know, it's pretty hard to deal with.
Several months after the transplant, Lisa and Stephen finally met.
You know, well, there's hardly words spoken. We just threw our arms around each other and hugged each other and cried on each other's shoulders. It was amazing.
It just felt like family, like somebody long lost had come home.
Now the Osmonds and the Birds are an extended family, talking and meeting up throughout the 12 years since Adam's death and Stephen's rebirth.
To know that he made a huge difference for this gentleman, it was just, I can't even express in words how blessed that was for me.
You know, and as long as I'm still alive, then part of Adam is still alive.
Again, it was Nadia Crow reporting. We should mention that both Lisa and Stephen volunteer with the Intermountain Medical Center's transplant service team. Basically what they do is they travel to area high schools and they talk to kids in their driver's ed class about organ donation, which is a place where Adam made that decision to become a donor. You can watch all 5 transplant services stories on our website, goodforutah.com.